It's still the morning show here on Rise News, and once again, happy International Men's Day to all our male viewers, and of course, first to male anchors here on the morning show. First off, we start off with President Bala, who has directed Vice President Kashim Shettima to visit Kebbi State on Wednesday following the kidnapping of schoolgirls in Maga, Danko, Wasagu area of Kebbi State. The Vice President is expected to meet with state officials and reassure families that the federal government is working to ensure the girls' safe and swift return. In a statement, Presidential Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, said President Tinubu also extended his condolences to the Nigerian military after the killing of several soldiers, including Brigadier General Musa Uba, during operations against insurgents in Borno State. The president, who has received full briefings from military authorities, expressed sadness over the abductions despite earlier intelligence warnings of a possible attack. He commended Governor Mohammed Nasser Idris for his efforts to prevent the incident. The president asked Vice President Kashim Shettima to visit the state today to sympathize with the state government and the parents of the students. While decrying the security breach that led to the abduction of the girls from their boarding school, the president urged communities across the country, especially in areas facing security challenges, to share information and intelligence that would help the military, the police, and the Department of State Services to make the communities safe. In other news, in what has been described as a show of naked power between rival camps in the opposition People's Democratic Party, the PDP's leadership crisis reached a crescendo on Tuesday as loyalists and security operatives attached to Governors Seyi Makinde and Bala Mohammed of Oyo and Bauchi states, respectively, clashed with loyalists and security operatives in the camp of the FCT minister, Wike, who had arrived to hold rival meetings at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja. Samuel Anyanwu insisted that he must serve out his tenure as National Secretary despite the PDP National Convention having dissolved the former National Working Committee at the weekend. A Rise correspondent, Mary Chinda, tells us more.
It's a showdown here at the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party in the Wuse Zone 5 district of Abuja. 72 hours after the Ibadan National Convention, which led to the expulsion of the FCT Minister, Mr. Wike, the party's National Secretary, Samuel Anyanwu, and others, the pro-Wike camp is not backing down. Anyanwu and the former National Organizing Secretary Umar Bature had arrived at the Secretariat early amid huge police escort and took charge of the facility, insisting that they must serve out their tenures until December the 8th. They also rejected their expulsion.
First of all, this is our usual meeting. Before every NEC meeting, there will be a BOT meeting. So the BOT will hold first before the NEC, and this is an emergency NEC meeting.
Are you concerned about the fallout of the PDP elective national convention in Ibadan that expelled yourself and a couple of people in the party?
Well, this is laughable because first of all, there's no convention in Ibadan. No convention. What makes a convention? One, as the National Secretary of the party in our constitution, is very clear. 36E, for every convention, the National Secretary will state the affairs of the party if there's any convention. Outside the court judgment that says we should not hold. And as a law-abiding organization and party, we are led by the rule of law. So we decided that we shouldn't hold the convention.
Then came Governors Seyi Makinde and Bala Mohammed, accompanying the new Kabiru Turaki-led National Working Committee members into the National Secretariat building. They met a security barricade and were refused entry. The atmosphere then became charged with supporters engaging in a free-for-all, including security operatives. They broke the barricade and found their way into the PDP Wadata Plaza Secretariat taking strategic positions and refusing to go out.
They have tear gases and tear gas even our governors. I want to call on President Trump. What is at stake is not just genocide against Nigerian Christians. He should come and save democracy in Nigeria. Commissioner of Police of the FCT had fulfilled his promise. They have made sure that we've gained entry into our Secretariat.
Moments after the encounter, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike then arrived to attend the rival meeting, protected by security aides, even as Makinde and Bala prepared for a showdown. The pro-Anyanwu camp had called a BOT and NEC meeting, which was earlier rejected. But Wike's arrival for the said meeting created friction, and the Bala Muhammad camp would have none of that. The two governors and their supporters disrupted the proposed meeting.
They should go and leave us alone. Must we be with us? This man, why is he working? Is he not working with APC? Why didn't you ask him? Is it moral for him to say that he will be in APC to destroy us?
FCT Minister Nyesom Wike was your friend. You people were in the G5 in the last election. What exactly would have happened?
Well,
What changed?
Hold on. Small minds talk about people. Average mind talks about events. We would rather talk about issues. What's the issue? The issue is we don't believe in one-party Nigeria.
Tear gas canisters then filled the air as security operatives tried to regain control of the building. The two governors and the Wike camp and their supporters all had to be forced out of the NEC hall. Undeterred, the Wike camp then moved from the NEC hall to the NWC hall, where they met, and then in a retaliatory move approved the expulsion of Oyo's Sheyi Makinde, Bauchi's Bala Muhammad, Zamfara's Dauda Lawal, Chief Bode George, among others, over alleged anti-party activities.
NEC approved the expulsion of the following: 1. Adolfo 2. Olabode George. 3. Berobi. 4. Kabiru Tani Suraki SN. 5. Bala Muhammad. 6. Oluseyi Makinde. 7. Dauda Lawal. 8. Tafik Aragbaja. 9. Sotoji Koshede. 10. Okechukwu Mechina Daniel. 11. Weiko Daniel. 12. Mohammed Kadede Suleiman.
The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike then vacated the premises, giving room to the PDP governors and the party chairman, Kabiru Turaki, and the NWC members to address journalists. They accused the police of bias and denounced the action of the Wike camp, accusing them of being backed by state resources to destabilize the main opposition. But the police denies the accusations of taking sides by the two governors, saying that it had been fair to both the Makinde, Bala, and Wike camps.
All strategy is being put in place to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order. There is safety and security. You are also a living witness.
At the moment, Wadata House, headquarters of the PDP, continues to be under lock and key. I understand that there is an order from above saying do not let anyone in. But with the drama that has unfolded here today, Nigerians continue to worry about what will become of Nigeria's main opposition party, the PDP, ahead of the big election year 2027. From Wadata Plaza, headquarters of the People's Democratic Party here in Abuja, Mary Chinda.
Thank you very much, Mary, for an excellent report. The president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Archbishop Daniel Oko, has reaffirmed the association's position that Christians in Nigeria are facing genocide, calling on the federal government and the international community to take urgent and decisive action to protect vulnerable communities across northern Nigeria and the Middle Belt. Oko made the remarks on Tuesday during the opening of the 4th quarterly CAN National Executive Council meeting at Crispan Hotel in Jos Plateau State. The event drew clerics from across the country and was attended by the Deputy Governor of Plateau State, Ngo Josephine Pio, who represented Governor Caleb Mutfwang. Speaking with deep emotion, the CAN president said the Christian community will not remain silent in the face of repeated, coordinated, and clearly targeted attacks against Christians, describing the pattern of violence as genocide.
Of Nigeria and to the international community to act decisively and urgently to halt the senseless destruction of lives and displacement of indigenous people, particularly in Christian-dominated communities across northern Nigeria and the Middle Belt. Local and state governments to take immediate steps to resettle all internally displaced persons back to their ancestral home.
In Plateau State, this gathering is particularly symbolic. Plateau has become regarded as the home of peace and tourism, a land blessed with diversity, hospitality, and deep spiritual heritage. Our administration is firmly committed to restoring and sustaining true peace across our communities.
Are we handing over our children to the terrorists to control them? Our grandchildren? By keeping silence in a time like this, whether we like it or not, none of us will escape this question from God Almighty. Where is your brother? State, we are persecuted, we say. Are we correct? Was Jesus wrong in giving us the instructions? And we obey half of it and refuse half of it? Let's research. God bless you.
All right, a number of stories before us today, Rufai and Dr. Bati. Rufai, start with you, of course. And just looking at, first of all, the president saying, well, the president is saying that the president is depressed by what's happening, the state of insecurity in Nigeria. The PDP, sure, somebody said power, shame, disgrace, a number of words. I mean, I would let you speak on this. And then we had Mary Chinda give us live reports, even from yesterday whilst we were on air and, you know, on the morning show. Your take on these stories, including the Christian Association of Nigeria.
If the president is depressed about the insecurity, we will not have a foreign minister go to misrepresent facts on Piers Morgan's show. And I challenge his data. Say 177 Christians have been killed in the last 5 years. I challenge, where did he get the data from? Does he know the death toll in Yelwata? Does he know the Christmas killings death toll? If the president, Ayo, was feeling discontent and very sad, once that incident happened over the weekend, I don't think the vice president should have been in Kogi going to welcome new decampees. Also, if the president was very sad about General Uba, that great, victorious general that died fighting for this country, I don't think they should have been welcoming people. If the president was very sad, I don't think they should have been, anyway, they've postponed the one in Taraba now. They should have been planning a welcome party for the Taraba state government at a time where people in the local government they still protested yesterday based on the killings of the thief. Ralph Waldo Emerson said something. What you do speaks so loud, I can't hear what you say. But yes, President Tinubu, you are very sad about the killings. Then what are you going to do about it? President Tinubu, as sad as you are, I just have one word to say to you this morning. Please, can we investigate complicity in the Kebbi attack? Because we're so easy and quick to mock Madam Jonathan when she was crying, "There is God," about complicity. But do you know that one of the teachers that were interviewed that escaped said that they had deployed security forces around there because the DSS, and kudos to DSS under Mr. Tosin Ajayi, this man has done a fabulous job. He gave, and DSS under him gave the intel. Security force was there. They are already planning and teaching them the drills. 30 minutes before the attacks, all of a sudden, the security forces left. Who ordered them to leave? President Tinubu, if you are sad, I think the very first thing we need to know is who ordered them to leave. Who gave the order? 30 minutes after they left, the attack happened. So you want to tell me there's no complicity? Tell it to the birds. So who ordered them to leave? And that's the problem we keep saying. So President Tinubu, may the sadness you feel and the sadness we all feel this morning, birth action, not just talk. Because we have seen too much talk. You feel sad about the insecurity. The first calisthenics that your government played was to downplay the fact that they are Christian genocide. We are not saying they are not killing Muslims. They are killing Muslims en masse, and we are upset about it. In fact, the killing of Muslims of genocidal proportion. But there's Christian genocide, but the denialism is what is unforgivable. And people from your government, like Mr. Tuga and Co., and other people do it. I'm happy that Khan has reasserted what is happening. As regards those that are calling Donald Trump to come and save them in their problem, please, PDP, leave Trump out of your problem. It's a case of two fighting. Both factions, both use state minds. The police are supposed to be catering to the plight of the people. That's what Governor Makinde used on the other, and Minister Wike also used. All of them use police. They wasted our taxpayers' money. Next year, they will start taxing us heavily. But they just wasted our 200 canisters on a bunch of politicians that already benefited from Nigeria, that are fed full. And these atrocities were perpetrated by police officers. Police officers that, and for you police that were tear-gassing journalists, it is the same us you will come and meet in 20 years' time when these same politicians you are fighting for will not pay your pension. You will come and meet us to advocate for you. So you are tear-gassing us today. It just shows the failure of the entire ecosystem. So please, they should settle their problem internally. It obviously shows that some people want one-party state. Anyway, they allege that Wike had said that the only term for them is they should not present a stronger candidate. But the question we should ask is, why will people not want competition in a democracy? But it shows the mentality of these overprivileged Nigerian people. Let's keep deceiving ourselves. Continue.
Right. Dr. Batin.
Okay, in the context of this general, now international concern about security problems in Nigeria, we have had against that background the killing of a general. We have had against that background the abduction of 22 students of a girls' comprehensive school in Maga. We have had against that background the attack on a CAC Apostolic Church in Kwara. Also against that background where some terrorists went there. Now, all of that is fueling the narrative, confirming the position that there is insecurity in Nigeria. But the more problematic part of it is that emerging narrative is placed on the fulcrum of the fact that the victims are Christians and only Christians, and which is not the correct situation, I keep insisting. The major thing you can put your finger on is general insecurity in Nigeria and the incompetence, the inability of the federal government of Nigeria applying either kinetic measures or non-kinetic measures to solve the problem. A problem that you can date back to as far back as 2004. The failure of successive Nigerian governments to deal with the problem is in itself embarrassing. And that is the fact. Now, the story that you have brought to the table is President Tinubu saying he's depressed and government is going to do a lot to get back the 25 students who were abducted from the Comprehensive Girls High School in Maga, Kebbi State. Now, okay, this is the usual thing that government says. Government is always depressed. Government is always regretful. Whether it is cheaper girls or Dapchi girls, and now it is the girls from Kebbi. So the government is just saying the right thing, and then northern governors saying they are outraged. Both the federal government and the state government continues to, continue to disappoint the people, whether it's in Kebbi State or it's in Borno State or elsewhere in Nigeria. And that, I think, is the bigger problem that we have to address. However, the danger in it is that the international community that is not built up a narrative about Christian genocide will feed on it like worms to say whatever they want to say. Riley Moore, House of Representatives member in the U.S., in addition to Tom Cole, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, and Ted Cruz, this is, good material for them. And the Trinidadian bimbo, Nicki Minaj, who spoke yesterday at a UN event, they are all already feeding into it. Riley Moore says, for example, that Kebbi is a Christian state and the students that were abducted were Christian students. But that is not true. Kebbi is a predominantly, Christian, Muslim state. And the people that were adopted, they were Muslims. But when the state is negligent, when the state fails in terms of its responsibilities, then you will get that kind of riposte from other people who, by the way, may have their own agenda to pursue. Meanwhile, we have in Nigeria, since the time of President Jonathan, what we call a Safe Schools Initiative. When the Dapchi girls were abducted, it was the same thing we were talking about, Safe Schools Initiative. In fact, some state governments said they were going to provide more security, they were going to fence the schools round, and yet in spite of all of that, you still have 25 students being abducted from a school in Kebbi State. So the bigger issue is the failure of the state. And I think that, we may just well address all of this instead of thinking that somebody from another country will come and save Nigeria. And that takes me to the crisis in the PDP. The PDP, I said, is imploding. The PDP, I wrote, back page of the of this day, yesterday, has left the ICU, it has gone to the mortuary, it is looking for the Lazarus effect with the hope that the party will resurrect. But the situation seems to be getting worse than what happened in 2014. The politicians must realize that it was this kind of situation that we had in 1964, in 1965, that provided part of the catalyst for the collapse of the First Republic. Politicians not agreeing among themselves and then causing friction in the country. But the unfortunate thing is that Nigerian politicians have lost the capacity either to learn from history or to, improve themselves. Second, what happened at the PDP Secretariat in Wuse yesterday was foreseeable, and I'll be surprised if anybody is surprised about what happened. One faction fighting against another. But the big issue is about national stability. It's about history repeating itself. And we hope that the statement that history first repeats itself as a farce and then it repeats itself subsequently as a tragedy does not happen in this particular case. But we can also say that, one, we do not need a one-party state. I argue, I continue to do so, that you need the opposition, and the opposition must be allowed to thrive. But this does not mean that, any major actor in that axis should now call for the intervention of Donald Trump or the intervention of the international community. This remains a sovereign country, and we continue to call on the part of the political actors for patriotism. Saying that people should come and save democracy in Nigeria. No, it is Nigerian politicians who can save democracy in Nigeria. It is not Donald Trump. It is not anybody in the international community. But I guess that, Kameno Tanumu Turaki SAN, KT SAN, spoke out of exuberance. He is from Kebbi State. Even in his own native Kebbi State, I do not think that, anybody in that state, whether it's Adamu Aliero or other major stakeholders in that state, will call for Trump to come and save democracy in Nigeria. it is important for politicians in Nigeria to play politics according to the rules, to respect the rules. And what we find in the People's Democratic Party is that people are not respecting the rules. The party has abandoned its own constitution. Friendship among the parties involved would seem to have broken down. Finally, the Archbishop Daniel Oko talking about genocide in Nigeria. Well, considering his position as president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, he has a responsibility to defend the faithful. The Pope has also intervened in the matter. Other parties have said Christians are being attacked in Nigeria. But the residual point is the position of the Nigerian government is that it is not just Christians that are being attacked. Muslims are being attacked also. Many of the commentators may not admit the complexity of the Nigerian situation, but the issue is that the Nigerian government has a responsibility to protect everyone, whether Christian, Muslim, or animist, and that we should not allow religion to divide the country, to make this country more problematic than it already is. That, in my view, is the point.
All right. Let me start off with the PDP. What happened at the PDP Secretariat yesterday? Some people have called it, we had it as a story, as Wahala in Wadata, PDP showdown, a number of things. But I think that a lot of people would agree that it was an unfortunate and unnecessary show of shame. And I believe that it is particularly disgraceful because these are our political leaders. The PDP is the main opposition party, and you can see a number of things as a fallout. We've talked a lot about the internal wranglings and the internal upset of the party in itself, PDP, the fate of the PDP, how strong an opposition it might be, the people working against the PDP. But I think what we see on the screen, if you see the fighting that's happened there, is something that we shouldn't be seeing at a time like this. Number one, it was very poor timing because, as Dr. Abati mentioned, the chairman, the chairman from the convention over the weekend of the PDP is from Kebbi State, where we have a serious matter of concern that 25 of our young girls, not animals, not plants, not inanimate objects, human beings, young girls of the future were kidnapped. And yet, because of the matter of politics, even as an opposition, I'm not sure they've been able to have enough time to present a response or a comment with regards to what's happening in Kebbi State. And that's quite sad. And it definitely shows where the priority of the political elite is, whereby it's about power grabbing, who's next, and who can dominate in terms of a powerful shame. Now, another part that really was concerning was the use of state resources for what was a political matter within a political party. We talk about how, first of all, we need more personnel in our security agents, especially with the police. And we see the policemen, they're trying to settle and bring people and peace and order, which is part of their responsibility. But if this didn't happen, then we wouldn't have a waste of resources, human and financial. And spot on fire, I was just thinking of how much money it costs the taxpayers. I think until we as taxpayers recognize the fact that this is our money on display being wasted, because if you were your company, you ask for how money was being spent, where resources was wasted on such an activity as this, because grown men in a political party could not come to the table and act like adults. Beyond that as well, I believe when you come to the code of conduct of policemen, I was like, okay, so the police can actually use just tear gas to disperse a situation that threatens to break down law and order. Whereby we have peaceful protesters who go out and we hear of people being, their live rounds of bullets being shot, people being tear gassed. But when it comes to the politicians, the police knows how to restrain itself in the face of fracas like this and not take on, very bullish action. I think that's something to take note of, so that the next time Nigerians exercise their right to peaceful protest, which is more on the side of the law than this show whereby people could have actually actually lost lives, they would conduct themselves more professionally because it shows that it is possible. Beyond that, when we talk about the loss of lives, last time when I spoke about the interface between the Minister of the FCT and the military personnel at the land, I said that it could easily have descended into a free flow whereby the two sides could have opened fire and would have had an unnecessary loss of lives. The same thing could have happened yesterday. And I don't know if we don't think about the ramifications of our decisions or the consequences of actions that we take. And so if anyone had lost their lives yesterday, the conversation would be that because there were internal wranglings in the political party, lives were wasted in such a manner. Then finally, let me talk about the security. And I'm happy that the president feels deeply about what's going on as in the nation, in Nigeria currently. But emotion ought to provoke action. That it would be the best use of emotion. Nigerians don't want to hear any more condolence messages. We don't want to hear any more stories around I'm disappointed, I'm disheartened. All those things we've heard it with previous administrations. What we want to see as the best response for Nigerians is action to be taken to end this insecurity, to ensure that young children, whether boys or girls, can go to school without the fear of being kidnapped or harmed while they're in school. This is 48 hours later. Yesterday I was saying that was 24 hours later, and I cannot imagine what has happened to the young girls at the time of the report. And now 48 hours later, no arrest, nothing we've not had any concrete news to give to Nigerians this morning with regards to the outcome of the Kebbi incident, and that is quite sad. I put it to the president, who is asking for locals to provide intelligence. That intelligence is not our problem, as we saw yesterday or 2 days ago in Kebbi State, because intelligence, the DSS had intelligence, but what happened to the intelligence? So it's not for a lack of the instruments to actually deal with the matter. It is the fact that there are people who are sabotaging the efforts of people who want to do right. And until those people are fished out, whether those who are financing, those who have political gain, those who are selling out the Nigerian government and the security agents, who are not going to make any headway with insecurity. So I put it to the president and the security agents that they know what to do. They know who these people are, but will they have the will to do what it takes to ensure that Nigerians can feel safe in their homes, in schools, on the road, wherever they are, and their lives will be protected, especially the future of Nigeria that seems to be cut off at this point. I know that Adefemi, in the course of her news brief, will talk about further what's happened with Nicki Minaj, going to the UN, speaking yesterday. We'll talk about the P.S. Morgan interview. We'll talk about the Minister, Yusuf Tuga's performance. So I'll wait for that to give my take and comment on that, particularly with regards to how we have a big challenge with data in Nigeria and how that is in itself a matter of national concern and fueling insecurity and not being able to present the true state of the Christian genocide that Nigeria is currently experiencing at the moment. If we don't have facts, if we don't have figures, we cannot claim full-heartedly that nothing is happening of that sort in the country.